Sam Donaldson, it was Washington and almost everywhere else. He followed Jimmy Carter into 17 cities in 11 states in only 7 days.
Warm Springs, Georgia, the cottage that belonged to Franklin Roosevelt, the place Jimmy Carter chose to kick off his presidential campaign, tying himself to the Roosevelt image of leadership, making leadership his major theme throughout the week, arguing that he's got it, his opponent hasn't.
Now we have timid leadership. Every time something goes wrong in Washington, nobody knows who's responsible. As I said in Warm Springs the other morning, when Harry Truman was in the White House, he had a slogan on his desk. Does anybody remember what it was? Right, the buck stops here. Nowadays, the buck can run all over Washington looking for a place to stop.
The pace all week was frantic. 10 states, 17 cities. The point was to invite the comparison between his meeting the people and his opponent's hiding, he said, in the White House. But meeting the people wasn't always pleasant. There was the time in South Carolina when the people turned out to be the Republican vice presidential nominee, Senator Dole. And frequently, the people were hecklers, carrying anti-abortion, anti-Carter signs. On the issues, Carter said he wanted to talk jobs and inflation, but he occasionally got sidetracked on such matters as FBI Director Kelly's free carpentry.
Did he commit a crime, Governor?
In Georgia, it would be a crime. I'm not familiar with the Washington laws. If it's not a crime, it ought to be.
In Chicago, the star of a torchlight parade, Carter saw his biggest crowd of the week, organized for him by the man whose timely blessing nailed down his nomination. It is one of Carter's political virtues, or faults, depending on the viewpoint, that he tries to appeal equally to Mayor Daley and the common man. He did that last week, and as Carter might put it, that seemed to suit him just fine. Howard?
Using some electronic gadgetry, we brought these two correspondents together earlier today for the first time since the conventions. In particular, I wanted to ask them if the issues are beginning to surface or if the campaign is still one of style and not substance. First, Sam Donaldson in Plains, Georgia.
Howard, Jimmy Carter is talking about the issues as he defines them. Whether he is speaking effectively is another thing. Carter says leadership is a #1 issue, and wherever he goes, he says he is a #1 leader. Then he talks about the economy, accusing what he calls the Nixon-Ford administration of producing high unemployment, high inflation, high deficits. And wherever he goes, he hammers that theme. I think one of the problems is in those of us who cover a campaign. Now, the 500th time I hear Jimmy Carter talk about high deficits, I don't think it's news. And when he says he's a terrific leader, I don't think that's news. But let him suggest that Clarence Kelly may have committed a crime, that's new. Or that the Chinese leaders should come to us instead of the other way around, that's new. And that's what I then produce for our evening news broadcasts. Of course, that's my job, to produce the news, not the olds, so I'm not going to take all of the blame on myself.